this. I don't even know why you're still here. Step.
The corner was our Rock of Gibraltar, our Stonehenge, our Taj Mahal, our monument, our testimonial to freedom, to peace, and to love down on the corner.
What's good, what's good, what's good? It's your man Kill, premiere episode of Joint the Corner, where we talking about sports, music, love, and life, a little bit of everything. So each time you sit down and chop it up with us, you may be getting a little bit of something like who the MVP this year, Curry or Harden. We may be giving you some tips on how not to creep out on wifey. You know what I mean? We may be talking about some you know what I mean? So you never know what you're going to get. But today we chopping it up about one of my favorite things in the world, basketball, professional, college, everything. Prayerfully, if you rock with the writers bench, you already know my man Beezo and ES over there. What's going on, y'all?
Hey, what up, what up?
All right. What's happening?
And we got definitely shout out my man G from Philly. He's sitting in with us today. What's going on, fam?
I'm here. Everything good. What's up, fam?
All right. So, we're going to jump right into it, man. We're 75% through the NBA season so far. What has this season, what has stood out the most for you? What has surprised you? What have you walked away at this point from the NBA season? Beezo, we're going to start with you.
I guess, I was thinking about this when you sent me the text. I guess the craziest thing would have to be, to me, is the Hawks. You know, I think we had this conversation a couple weeks ago, Kill. I was like, yeah, I expected them to be good, you know what I'm saying, given, you know, their style of play, and they was getting Horford back for the year and all that. But I didn't expect it to be this good. I don't think anybody expected. They have, I think, the second best in the league, if not the whole NBA right now. But I'd say the Hawks, but I think what they've shown is what playing together and in the right system with the right people, what it can do for you. You know what I mean? I think they're showing the world and the rest of the league, you know, they're taking kind of the Spurs blueprint and kind of, you know, doing their little version of it. I like what they're doing. I really do. So I would say the Hawks for me.
Now, tell me this. Do you think that it's about the coaching? Because for the most part, they've had that same squad. Now, keep in mind, I don't pay no attention to Atlanta. Atlanta been that squad, seemed like, since Mookie Blaylock and Dikembe Mutombo. Right there. They always kind of in the playoff hunt, but never, like, to me, them dudes ain't never been really relevant, probably since Dominique left back in the 80s. So, do you think it's the new coach? Because for the most part, these still the same players that we've been seeing for the past 2-3 years, right?
Yeah, well, I think it's a combination. I do think the coach has something to do with it. You know, he came from the Spurs, so he knows, you know, that whole style of teamwork and the right people and all that. But I think the biggest reason is Jeff Teague, to me. Like, if you watch him play, I think it's funny when I hear people talking about the best point guards in the NBA. Nobody ever mentions Teague. But if you watch him play, he's one of them dudes that he does what he does, and he does it well. And he doesn't deviate from that. He doesn't go outside of himself and try to be, you know, this crazy player. But the kid is nice, man. Coming out of college, you know, I thought he was nice coming out of college and whatnot. So I do think it's Teague, and I think what's happened is he's now in his third year, his second year under I can never say the dude's name, Budenholzer or whatever it is. But I think that those two things plus getting Horford back for the whole season, you know what I'm saying, from the beginning of the season to right now, I think it's been those three things. But I think Teague is the biggest reason. But I do think the coach is some of it, but I think it's more about Teague and Horford, and, you know, coming together at the same time.
All right, no doubt. Esco, what you got?
Yo, it's funny. I was going to say the same thing. Atlanta's the shock. They got like the second best record in the league. They got like, 13 losses? If you'd have told me at the beginning of the season, Atlanta would be in sole position in first place in the East, with only 13 losses, I'd have been like, get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, right. They're lucky if they get the 8th seed. So that would definitely say they're number one. And you know, the biggest surprise for me is Harden. I would do the score. He can ball, but the difference between just being a pure scorer and, you know, he's playing like team ball. He's playing defense, MVP, but he should at least be in the conversation. He should at least get second most votes if he doesn't win. He should be number 2. That's what I would say. Those are about 2 picks I would say.
All right, G, what you got on?
Well, I gotta agree with the Atlanta pick. I think with Atlanta, dudes, they just fit together. Like, you know, nobody stands out so much over the other. The coaching is good. They got a system. They all bought into the system. Teague is real nice. People do sleep on Teague. And Horford, him staying healthy the whole season, I think he's better too than he gets credit for. But all them dudes fit together, and they all know their roles. Ain't nobody trying to go out their lane. Teague is the leader of it, and he definitely deserved that spot that he got on the All-Star. But they underrated. But the thing with Atlanta too, like nobody's expecting nothing. Even though they like number one in the league, when the playoffs come, ain't nobody really still looking be like, oh, Atlanta gonna be in the finals. So until the playoffs come, it's like, oh yeah, they doing their thing now. When the playoffs come, we still gotta see.
All right. And I mean, I agree with everything y'all saying. I think the biggest thing to me has just been injuries, man. It just seems like, you got Bosh Child, Wade been in and out. We got D Rose out again. You got Rand, he out, he back, he out. You got Westbrook in and out. Kobe going for the season. Dwight Howard hurt again. Like, these are major people.
Melo never been out. So yeah.
What happened?
Melo.
Like Melo, he was saying Melo. I was like, yeah, Melo's never been out. So
these are major pieces of people's teams. You know what I mean? And to kind of co-sign with Esco was saying with Harden. I actually forgot Dwight was even still on that squad. You know what I mean?
But I hear that
the way Harden been balling, it's like, because Harden, just like you said, ain't putting up points. He getting assists too. Like, he's getting everybody involved. And to be honest with you, outside Josh Smith, I mean, I know the boy Terrence. I forgot the boy name played for Kentucky. There's a lot of big names on that squad like that. But with all those injuries, one of the things that a lot of people have been talking about was this whole new thing of resting players. Pop got fined for it last year, or maybe 2 years ago, I can't remember, but he got fined for like resting the whole old part of the squad and letting the young cats play. And LeBron taking 2 weeks off, like on a mental health vacation, just to get his mind right and everything like that. How do y'all feel about that? Because I was watching ESPN last week, and Mike Wilborn was saying, like, it was something like with those Chicago Bulls teams. I think the one that won that 72 year, they were saying like, yo, almost nobody missed any games, like, unless it was for like a crazy injury. And Isaiah was just saying, like the league is weak now because you got cats running around begging for Ray Allen to come back. You begging for a 40-year-old guard to come back to the league. So what do y'all think about this whole resting players and we're gonna give you 2 nights off? I mean, you think that's hurting the league or extending people's lifespan? What you think, Esco?
I ain't gonna lie to you. I hate that shit. Because you know what? It's one thing for the season ticket holders. They go like the Spike Lee type too there, 40, 50 games a season, whatever the case may be. Maybe it don't affect them that 1 or 2 nights. That one person to buy tickets to say, I'm going to go to 1 game every season, and I'm going to see LeBron when he come to town. And this dude turn around and take off 3 games, and that's the game that you bought tickets to, you'd be pissed. So, like, I feel bad for those casual fans. Like, I remember a couple years ago, when Popovich wrestled like the whole Spurs team, they rolled into Miami and they got all that shit for it. Like, I'm not a fan of that. My thing is, I get why they do it, because I mean, it works for the Spurs. You see what they do every year. I mean, I get this, like, got old players, those back-to-back nights kill you. My thing is, if it's that serious, then let's work on extending the season out. I know a lot of players are against that. They don't want to have him extended the season, but if he's back-to-back,
you're saying extended, like make the 82 games, space them out longer, so
exactly, make them a little bit
out long.
Exactly, make it a little bit long. Maybe cut the preseason down like a week or 2, add a couple of days in between here, and give them a little bit more, fewer back-to-back. These are the season you maybe have 10 or less. Right now, they say they have like anywhere from 16 to 20 back-to-backs every season. Maybe make it under 10 every year. You won't maybe run into that as much. Especially down the end of the season when dudes wrap up seeds and they like the Spurs are cool. Like, they get the number 1 or 3 seed, they're all right too. If they know they can't push up, they're fine with resting dudes down the stretch. It seems like the NFL too, where like, all right, you might miss the last game. I mean, these dudes will skip, like you said, 10, 12 games a season. Like they said, the average like star is like playing 70 or less games a season now. Like, they're gonna eat 10 games up one way or the other, whether they get injured or they don't. That's, like I said, that's 10 games that, like, somebody like me or you might buy 2 games a season. You might go see when LeBron come into Washington or when freaking Melo come to Washington. And this dude just, I know, it's a back-to-back. So we like played last night in Philly. He's going to sit him tonight. Like, I hate that shit, dude. I have a problem with that, especially when they make a lot of money. When they make Jordan money, like that level of Jordan level, but still, like, they get paid pretty well. You should be on the court, at least making an appearance. You know what I mean? If you start, play 20 minutes and shit, at least people get to see you, they get their money for it. That's how I look at it.
All right, no doubt. What you think, Beezo?
I mean, I see that side of it for the fans, for the casual fans. In terms of casual fans that go to games casually, not, like you said, not as a season ticket holders. But I do understand it. I'm not opposed to it. I certainly understand. Actually, I love the fact that, a couple years ago when Pop did that and went into Miami and sat everybody, and then I think for Duncan, it actually said too old was the CD, what is it? A CD coach's decision, whatever.
Right.
So I kind of enjoyed that, but I do see the other side of it. But what I was reading last night or yesterday, whatever it was, they're actually talking about extending the 82-game season so that it would extend it to like June and even July. Like the playoffs wouldn't start until July. So it'd be the same 82 games, but just stretched out over a longer span. Because to me, it's not even about the back-to-backs. It's the 3 games in 4 nights, 4 games in 6 nights. Those games are the worst. And I think it's a different breed of NBA player now, man. It's, there is some truth to the fact that they're a little bit softer, obviously, than the guys from back in the day. You had Rick Mahorn and those kind of cats running around or whatever. But at the same time, there is a lot more pressure. There's more exposure. And people, I think, forget about the impact the mental side of it has on a player's fatigue. When you constantly dealing with this extra amount of pressure that these players never received before. Like LeBron was the most hyped player ever I've seen coming into the NBA, more than any other phenom or youngster ever. That's all brand new. Isaiah and them cats and Magic, they didn't deal with as much scrutiny as these cats do nowadays. So I think there is something to be said for the mental fatigue. And I think that's what these cats experience more than the physical fatigue, is the mental fatigue. And that's how you get injured, because you're just not as sharp mentally. You do something you're not used to doing on the court, and boom, Wesley Matthews, pop his Achilles. Just like that, he's gone. So I see the point behind it, why people would be a problem, have a problem with it, and it could cause problems for the league, for the casual fans. But until they do something like that, man, extending the season out, I don't think there's any other way to get around it, man. Those 4 games in 5 nights and all that stuff, I think that's more of a problem than just, a few back-to-backs here or there. You can get around that stuff. But the 4 games in 5 nights, they got to do away with that stuff.
All right. What you think, G?
Yeah, I think they do got to stretch it out. I don't like the players sitting out. I think it worked for San Antonio. Them dudes is old. They've been together so long where they can just like step in and step out. So they got a system. So what they're doing, it's like a copycat league. Now you're seeing Atlanta do it a little bit because he came from San Antonio. But that's not going to work, for most teams and most players. Like, it's hard enough, to get a good product day in and day out. Now you're sitting dudes out. So as a fan, I don't like it. As a management, I understand it. But, we can't sit out our jobs like that. So it's what they signed up for, you know what I'm saying? So we don't get paid nowhere near what they get paid out for. So I think they got a bigger responsibility than that, just to sit out. Especially games like where San Antonio play a Miami or play a Cleveland now. That's the games that people want to see, whether they there or they on TV. You know what I'm saying? Like, you tune in, you planning your whole night out to watch this game. Then as soon as the game start, now LeBron ain't playing, Duncan ain't playing. You know what I'm saying? Like, now you don't even watch the game. You gonna watch something else, and it's like a waste.
Right. Nah, I feel you.
Kill, can I add one quick thing? I was listening to Mike and Mike the other day, right? Way to work, and they had Dominique on. I thought it was so dope. They was talking about him getting that statue, which is all that. I love Dominique. Growing up, man, I know Michael was Michael, but Dominique was that dude. He kind of gets overlooked when you talk about like the top 5 to 10 players of that generation. And he was that dude. But anyways, long story short, they had him on and they asked him about the 82 games. He said, look, man, I mean, basically. You know what I mean? These dudes got private jets. We ain't had no private jets, chefs, and personal trainers fly with us. Them dudes get pampered throughout the 82 game season, stuff that they never got when he was playing. It was like, man, it was never even on the table to not play all 82 games. If we could play, we played. If we would even score, we played. He said he didn't even like that shit. That's coming from an NBA player. You know what I mean? He's like, dudes, they got figured. They got your private jets. best accommodation hotels. We ain't staying in that shit. You know, come on, man. Like even eat. You know what I mean? So,
that's why Isaiah and Mike is calling these dudes soft. Like the league is soft. Like, you know, you look on the stats back 15 years ago. You know, Chicago, Mike was playing all 82 games. Dominique was playing all 82 games. You know, all the star players played every game.
All right, well, let me say that.
Back to back and all that.
Because we fall into the space of we the old men at the club. Like, you know, we the old dudes. Like, these young MCs don't bring it like what Rakim did in 1987. And, you know, all these new cats ain't like Big Daddy Kane and Molly Ball. Like, you know, I mean, I agree with everything everybody's saying. I think for me, I've always wondered, is it just too much basketball that these dudes are doing outside of it? Is it the Team USA? You know, you see how Durant dropped that after, you know, Paul George got hurt. Is it, you know, because those are practices, those are scrimmages, you got to fly over here, you're flying to different countries for Team USA. And then, I mean, probably outside of Mike and even Mike at that level, again, I'll take it back to hip-hop. Somebody once said Stevie Wonder could have made songs in the key of life if he's promoting, I won't say Beezo the sunglass line, if he was promoting clothing lines and he was promoting, you know, sneakers, if Stevie Wonder had sneakers. But that's what these cats, I mean, Durant got Sprint commercials. He's got Gatorade. You know, these cats have so much on their plate. Is it almost like a RG3 thing where you're so concerned with the brand? And it's not an RG3 because we all know what that is. But I'm just saying that you have so much on your plate. So like you said, Beezo, it's just not the mental of the game. You've got the mental of, I'm with Rock Nation and I got to do this Sprint thing and I got to shoot over here and I got to go there. And it just too much on their plates. And then two, me personally, I've never liked the 82 game season. I would like it to be shorter period, you know, because I feel like the NBA, for me at least, when it starts, is exciting. You get to see all the new trades and the new rookies. That's all good for November. By around December, I start getting tired of it. And then it turns back up like right now after the All-Star game. It starts getting exciting. So I feel like we could get away with that like 20 games as is. Now, I mean, of course, that's never going to happen because that's too much
revenue, though.
Right, there's money that's going to be lost. But what do y'all think about that? Do you think all the things that these cats have going on in their minds? I mean, Rose got Adidas. I mean, you know, the average star has at least 2 to 3 endorsements, if not more. Do you think that, like Beezo, do you think that's part of the mental problem too?
Absolutely. I mean, that's kind of what I was referring to. Like, you take it back to the days of Jordan and them. You had I say, just on average, maybe 10 guys like Barkley, Jordan, David Robinson, who had these sneaker deals and were doing commercials. Mike obviously was doing the most stuff because he had Gatorade, Nike, you know, he had a whole bunch of stuff going on. But nowadays, Damian Lillard is doing Adidas commercials. You know what I mean? A cat all the way out in Portland. Clyde Drexler, he wasn't turning on our TV on a Saturday afternoon and seeing Clyde Drexler commercials. You know what I'm saying? On the East Coast. Maybe over there in Portland when he was in Houston, but not over here. So it's a whole different ball game now. And I think that's what people, even Dominique, I think some of these older athletes, some of the older players, because I've heard a couple of them saying some of the same stuff, like, you know, they're very critical of the younger players, which happens. You know, it's always the older generation is critical of the younger generation. But I think that people lose sight of that, man. There was no Twitter, there was no Facebook, there was none of that stuff, no YouTube. You had, you know, your beat reporters and then the national reporters. And that's all you really dealt with, you know what I'm saying? Unless you were a mega star in the NBA, unless you were up there with Jordan and them cats. But now, even the cat, and I don't mean to single out Damian Lillard like he's not that nice, but it's more about where he's playing at. You know what I mean? Being all the way in Portland, you're still seeing a cat like that every day on TV. So these guys have a whole lot going on off the court. Now, you know, guys can be critical of that, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, it is about a business. You know what I mean? As we've gone on over the years, more and more players and more sports have grasped the understanding, the idea that, this is a business. So if the team is going to do everything they can to generate as much income and revenue they can off of my back, then it's only right that I do the same for myself and my brand. And to me personally, I have no problem with that because I've never been one. I don't care if the dude is making $2 a game or he's making $20 million every time he takes a shot. To me, that has no bearing on what I think of the player. I only base it on what they do when the lights come on and they step on that court. The contract means zero to me. It means nothing whatsoever. So I think people get caught up in that. You're making this much money, you should be this committed. You're a professional. I don't care if so that means that the guy who's the 15th guy on the bench, shouldn't be as committed because he doesn't make as much money? Absolutely not. If anything, he should be even more committed so he can be up there. So let's take money out of it and just look at time and what these cats do with their time. They have way more personal trainers, yes, which means they're working out more in the off season. They're more dedicated to the craft when they're off the court. That's why guys like J.R. Smith get no love from me. Dog, you don't. That style don't fit in any generation. What you doing, my man? You know what I mean? So I can't get with J.R. But the rest of these cats, yo, there's a lot going on for these dudes, man. For every one of these players now, man. If y'all had any idea, like, I don't know, Esco, if you was out there around like the All-Star game weekend, I wasn't there, but I knew a couple of cats that was, a part of some of the functions, and they like, yo, this shit is crazy. Dudes is out, not even partying, but just working till 12, 1 o'clock at night, doing promotional shit, running around on some NBA stuff. So I think a lot of people, the fans especially, lose sight of that because we only see the other side of it, what's on the TV screen. We don't see the hours that gets put into that, and then it's all the other stuff going on. So I think people got to take that in mind, man. I think it's more about the mental fatigue, which then, of course, does bring about physical fatigue. But I think it's the mental side of the game is why the 82 games in this time frame is so difficult for this generation. I don't think it would have been as hard for the older generation, but this generation, it is different. And we don't have to like it, but it is what it is, man.
Nah, you're right. All right, let's go on to this. About a week or two ago over We'll Make Beats for Food, I posted this joint called What the Fuck Are the Sixers Doing? And it was all about Stan Hinkie. It was about tanking. It was like, I finally was like, you know what? I'm rocking with you, Sam Hinkie. That's Danny Ocean to me from Ocean's 11. That nigga is George Clooney to me. He's trying to pull off the biggest heist in the NBA right now with what he's doing. But that goes on to what I always joke about with Esco and Beezo being Knicks fans and me and G being Sixers fans is that we're in a race to see who can tank the fastest. It was like, y'all shut down Melo, we traded Michael Carter Williams. It's like, who has the worst starting five in the NBA? What do y'all think about tanking? Are you with it? Are you against it? For me personally, basically what the article was saying was like, look, I felt like the Sixers, we were becoming like the Atlanta Hawks almost. We were going to get to the first round of the playoffs, be an 8th seed, get knocked out. We was never going to have, a big free agency sign. We always going to fall in there, barely making the lottery. So I was like, yo, screw it. If we got to tank a year, to get Wiggins, let's tank. Well, we tanked. We ain't get Wiggins, so we got to tank another year. And then, trading MCW, my man Fish always says he can't shoot. Boy can't shoot. I appreciate what Hinkie did because I felt like it's like being with a girl and shorty ain't wifey, but you just stay with her for the hell of it and then you're miserable. So I'm like, get rid of the boy. If the boy ain't the point guard for us, screw him. Get rid of him. Get that protected Lakers pick back. Let's protect the top 5 this year, protect the 3 next 2 years, and let's roll the dice. Let's get D'Angelo Russell and my man Moutier out of China, and let's start again. But that's just my take on it. I don't have a problem with I don't want to say I don't have a problem with tanking, but I just don't know how you get around it. Esther, what you think about this whole tanking thing or what Hinkie's doing in Philly?
It's crazy because I live out in the Philly area, so I go to work and listen to the radio, especially on my way home. And they had the Mike Musinelli show on, and he was talking about it, and he was like, he actually agreed with the Michael Carter Williams. He said the same thing you did. Like, he's good, he ain't never going to be great. And if you can get Russell, forget it. It's worth it. They got a lot of picks. They got things working for him. And it's one of them things where he put it like this. He said, is the person you can get from that draft pick better than anything Michael Carter Williams can possibly get to? Is there a possibility or a good possibility? And he was like, yeah. And he said, if that's the case, then go for it. The problem with that is it creates a culture with the team. And I think a lot of players aren't really happy about that. I heard of a couple dudes on the team were tweeting out afterwards, I don't know what's going on. They had no idea. The Michael Carter Williams thing came out of nowhere. No one saw it coming. Yeah, like I was saying about the Sixers, man, I like that whole rebuilding because it's hard to attract people to want to play in Philly, especially when they get 90 miles up the road in New York. That's tough. But, like I said, they're trading Michael Carter Williams. It's that's your rookie of the year. I don't think it's a bad trade. I think it makes sense. I think they can do better in the draft than ever Michael Carter Williams will ever be. I think he's probably about as good as he's going to be. And I don't have a problem with it, but I just feel like it creates a bad culture. Like I said, with the fan base, hearing them dudes calling up Mike Musinelli, some of them are like, I'm sick of this shit. When are we going to get better? So, I don't know. I just hope, he's got a plan that at least like next season they're at least competing for the playoffs and they're not just tanking it another year. Like I hope this is the last year they're intent on tanking. You know what I mean? Like if that's the case, then I'm okay with it. If next year they're tanking again for some more draft picks, and it's like now you at least you're gonna have, even without Mark Williams, you got 2 top 5 draft picks already. You're gonna have a 3rd or 4th possibly in this year's draft. Plus you got the dude over there in Europe. So he could be coming over at the. I think he can come over at the end of next year. After next year, you're gonna have like 5 like potential top 10 draft picks on one roster. Tanking is over. Like you can't keep tanking. So that's the one. I hope this is the last year. So we'll see. You know what I mean, you never know.
All right, what you think, Greg?
I mean, I hate tanking. As a fan, as a passionate diehard Sixers fan, it's terrible. I hate the tanking. I'm trying not to use no other language because I got, females in here. But the tanking, it's got to go. This got to be the last year. Like, how many? You can only have 12 people on your team. How many picks? How many picks and how much money can you make? And nobody's coming. Nobody's playing. Now, we got rid of Michael Carter Williams. I don't like Noel anymore. I don't like Noel. Embiid's not going to play this year. Now, I seen highlight him earlier dunking between his legs. Now you telling me he hurt? He's still hurt? So, all right, I need to see the vision. You got to lay out me the plan. Like, we got all this money. We got all these picks. And it's no guarantee that you're going to pick the right people when you had the picks.
All right, let me do this. Let Beezo chime in, and I'm going to tell you Danny Ocean's plan. I'm going to show you the whole plan. It's gonna be
I got you. But
he need to hire me because I'm with him now. I was against him. Now I've joined the dark side. Beezo, what you got on this whole tanking thing?
Well, I may have to.
Let me ask you too. As a Knicks fan, do you feel like y'all are tanking? Do you think do you think Melo would have shut down if y'all were kind of competitive, or was this like I'm shutting this shit down because we losing? This don't make no sense. But what are you gonna say?
Well, I'll try to be as brief as possible because this is some deep shit if you ask me, man. Both between what Philly doing and what happened with the Knicks. But first, I'll just say with the Knicks, I think that was more a necessity, man. Because at the beginning of the season, they were talking about trying to make the playoffs. So the idea that the Knicks just tanking this season is silly to me. They weren't trying to tank. They just J.R. Smith and his brigade were leading Shumpert down that same dumbass road.
Yo, you really don't like J.R. Smith, huh?
Yeah, I can't stand that dude, man. I can't stand.
I'm with you on JR.
He's an idiot, man. And then, I mean, you're gonna get me off on a tangent, but like the first thing he said,
keep you on track. No JR.
Well, I got to get it out now. But the first thing he said when he went to Cleveland was how, this should be better for me because there's no nightlife here. It's like, nigga, are you kidding me? Like, yo, you had to go to Cleveland to learn that shit? I despise that dude as a ball player. I don't know him personally. I don't know the man, but as a ball player, he, to me, epitomizes everything that's wrong with professional sports. I'll just say that. But getting back to the Knicks, it wasn't an attempt to tank. They just were playing absolutely god-awful terrible. And it's like, what are we doing here? Are we going to end up with, a 13th seed? You know what I'm saying? With the draft pick, or are we trying to get an 8th seed and be out in the first round and getting the 17th pick in the draft, whatever it is? It's a waste of time. And the NBA, being a mediocre team is 10 times worse than being a horrible team. You have to be horrible in order to rebuild properly. But having said that, what Hinkie is doing in Philly is deplorable to me. Now, I'm a Knicks fan born and raised, but I've always been a Sixers fan because of Dr. J. And then when Barkley first came out, and then AI, they always had at least one cat that I loved. And then, truth be told, even though I was a Lakers and Knicks fan as a kid, I've always loved, to me, the Sixers championship team was the greatest championship team I've ever seen, even better than Jordan's Bulls that won 72 games to me. That was the best team I've ever seen. So I have love for the Sixers. I really do. And what they're doing, what Hinkie's doing, is deplorable. I don't care what anybody says, because it would make sense if going into last year's draft, you have 2 top 10 picks, 2 lottery picks in that draft, in what arguably was being considered the deepest draft in NBA history. And you draft a guy who's not playing for at least 2 years, and the dude Saric, who's now overseas and might come over here after next season. Not even next season, but after
Not even next season. Maybe next season.
And then you draft Embiid coming off of 2 surgeries, back problem, and he had that knee problem earlier in the year, whichever one or the other. But he had 2 injuries. At a position, you just drafted a cat from last year who's coming back this year off a knee injury. So you just drafted 2 cats at the same spot with the same ailments after your team got burned by Andrew Bynum with the same problems. So it's like, my dude, what are you doing? And I agree with what G said right there. It's like, yo, my man, he should be, out of respect for the fans and what they're doing and the obvious attempt to lose, it should be incumbent upon him to sit down in front of the media and address the fans and say, listen, this is my plan. You know, I'm not trying to just shit on this team, because the idea of tanking for X amount of years, let's take a team like Orlando after they traded Dwight Howard, and they haven't been trying to tank. They've ended up with, they got all these picks. They've drafted all these young cats, and they have a nice little roster. But look how long it's taken for this young roster to finally come together and to extend, just to go to the next level of being a 500 team. They're still struggling. So, okay, we're going to wait now from this date another 2 years before we actually have the team we want. Maybe, because we're going to have to make more trades if I'm Hinkie, because we keep drafting the same position with a center position with Embiid and Noel or whatever. Now they get this year's pick. What, are they going to take Okafor or Towns? So they have 3 centers? Come on, man. It's crazy. It's like, dog, they're taking too long to get to the end result. And nobody, the people who are paying money to come see this team, you're not telling them what the plan is. Now, in terms of Michael Carter-Williams, I agree with that trade 100%, because to me, best case scenario, he's Jason Kidd light, and I don't think he's anywhere near that. I don't think he's ever going to be that dude. I think it's great for him playing for Kidd, because to me, Jason Kidd is the closest thing to him. You know what I mean? Of what he was to his generation, what MCW could be right now. You know, a poor shooter, but great distributor and all that stuff, and good defender. But again, I don't have a problem with that trade. It made sense, you know, to get another pick, a good pick, which could end up a top 3 pick or whatever, top 6 pick, whatever it is, you know, after it's all said and done. But back again, I think it's disgusting what they're doing, man. I think it's because I went to that Knicks game last year against Philly, and I'm telling you, the half of the arena was there for the Knicks. The arena was full, and it was because people like me driving out from New York, going to the Knicks game because you can get an easy seat. And we were sitting 3 rows behind the basket, you know what I'm saying? Because the tickets were that cheap, because nobody wants to go see the Sixers, man. And that's the point. We ain't talking about the Memphis Grizzlies, man. We talking about the Philadelphia 76ers.
All right. Well, let me say this. Let me bring out the Sam Hinkie, Danny Ocean's 11 plan. Now, we all seen Ocean's 11, right? You know that everything got to work like clockwork. Brad Pitt got to be on point. Don Cheadle got to be on point. Bernie Mac, God bless the dead, got to be on point. Everything got to work exactly, or the scam don't work. The heist don't work. So it didn't go right the first year. We didn't get Wiggins. You know what I mean? It didn't work. But when you're a hustler, when you're Danny Ocean, do you just leave Vegas? Nah, you got to keep rolling. You got to keep playing. So then, I'm with you, Beezo. I'm with you. When we got rid of Bynum, I was like, yo, why we drafted Nerlens? Hinkie's plan is, hey, he would have been the #1 pick if he didn't get hurt. I understand the key word in that is if, but in this dude's mind, he's thinking, we just stole the #1 pick. Same thing with Joel Embiid. If he never got hurt, he would have been the #1 pick. So in Hinkie's mind, he's gotten 2 #1 picks, you know, almost scot-free. Now, the other part of the plan that has to work together is if we get the #2 pick in this draft this year. Because if we get the #2 pick, we could either get Russell or Moutier, 2 banana athletic point guards who I would definitely take over MCW. If Embiid comes back and he's healthy, and we run them out on some old Twin Towers type shit, and we get that Lakers pick, which I doubt we're going to get because they suck, so they're probably going to be in the top 5 anyway, so it's going to skate over the next year. But if we don't get that pick, we may grab my man Stanley Johnson out of Arizona. That's a good starting 4 to put on the floor. It's the best thing we've seen in 3-4 years. Again, I don't know what else we could have done, because I don't know what's worse, 2 years of tanking or 2 years of making the playoffs in the first round, 8th seed, always getting knocked out, always getting a number 16, 17 draft pick. I don't know what's worse.
But my thing is this though. My only problem with that, like with your analogy, is in terms of Danny Ocean, it's like, okay, it didn't work on this bank, but you know what? There's another bank to rob. There's other ways. There's many ways to rob this bank, and this isn't the only bank to rob. And again, I bring up the Magic, and there's a couple other teams. Like you look at what Phoenix has done. You know what I'm saying? They didn't try to tank, but they went and got a bunch of young players. They went and traded for this guy, traded for that guy. You know, bringing in Dragic, and then bringing in Bledsoe, and now trading Dragic, and then I don't know what they were doing with all the point guards, but you see what happened to them. And this is Henke's kind of doing the same thing where, well, we're just going to get a guy at a position. I don't care if we have 4 guys at this position. We're going to get another guy at this position, and we'll kind of figure it out as we go along. But that is literally flying by the seat of your pants. And it's like, yo, in that draft last year, they could have easily gotten 2 players that are playing right now. Now, you want to sit Embiid for the whole year. Again, it's simply to lose games. At some point, you got to get on the court together and actually play together. But that's what I brought about Orlando. They haven't tried to tank, and they've been grabbing all these young players, good players.
But here's the thing. But do you want to bring somebody back like Embiid and Noel off these serious injuries to just lose? Like, and this is just me. Like,
why draft them in the first place, though?
Yeah. But here's the thing. Anytime the doctor tells me something, I put another 2 weeks on it. If you tell me take 2 weeks off, I'm gonna take them off. So my only concern is let's make sure you're 100% proof positive, ready to hoop, like we did with Nerlens. This year he's been playing every game. We sat him all year. He hasn't had, as far as what I know, no issues. We've seen players come back from injuries too soon, even when the doctor's giving you the thumbs up. My thing is, we here now. We here. We don't
have a problem with that. I'm gonna say I have a problem with a guy come back from an injury. You want to give him the most time to recover. That's fine, but when you go out again, man, it would be one thing if it just so happened that, you know, Embiid, it was there, all right, no doubt. Or let's say it was somebody else. Let's say it was Marcus Smart, you know what I'm saying, who played the position that they had another guy who's a better point guard to me than MCW. And I think he will be as time goes on. But let's say it was Marcus Smart right there at that pick. They like, you know what? He's got his knee is messed up, and we got MCW. You know what? He's going to be a better player. Let's take him, and we'll let him sit for the whole year. I'm okay with that. But when you go out and then your second lottery pick, you take a guy that you know is not playing for your team for at least
3 years.
Yo,
I get that.
But Kill, this is my point though. You got to have people in house. Like that's what Derek Fisher and Phil Jackson keep talking about now. It's like, look, the culture doesn't start the minute we have the good players. The culture starts the minute we turn the lights on and walk in the door. So even if we're losing, the mindset is still, there's an objective here. That we're trying to get the culture of winning basketball and playing within a system and developing players. How are you developing the chemistry with Embiid and Noel if you're sitting everybody? How are you going to then incorporate Saric when he comes in? Because now he's not just a dude that's going to be coming off the bench playing 20 minutes a game. You're looking at him as being your starting small forward, power forward, who knows? Because I don't think they're going to keep Noel or Embiid. I think one of the two of them at least is going to get traded. I think what Henke's planning on doing is seeing which one looks better and then trading the other guy, or vice versa. But again, it's like, it's this constant, well, we'll take him and then trade him. Yo, dude, at some point, you have to start identifying, I want this guy, we want to develop him, we want him to be a part of our franchise, and we want him to be part of the new culture. That's what Land is done. And I think what Henke's doing is too much flying by the seat of his pants. And I think it's disrespectful to the fans, man, of Philly, man. I really do.
All right, well, since we're talking about my man D'Angelo Russell and who we're trying to get next year, let's jump into college ball for a second. Now, all y'all know college ball is my shit, or let me say was my shit. Like, this was my favorite sport. I loved it to death. I think the last time me, Beezo, and ES was chopping it up, we was talking about college versus the NBA. But this year, I have not been able to get into college ball this year. I mean, I attribute it to them tearing down my Big East. I don't have my Big East no more. My Huskies are in the AAC. Syracuse is over there in the ACC. Maryland is in the Big Ten now. Like, just nothing looks right. But what I realized the other day is I didn't really start rocking with college ball until like 97, 98, that lockout year. But even though I never really watched it like that, players were so good, their names stood out. So I knew who Larry Johnson was, even though I didn't watch UNLV play. I knew who Stackhouse was, even though I wasn't a big UNC fan. I knew Iverson, I knew Marbury, I knew Stoudemire, I knew these players' names, I knew Leitner. But with college now, I'm like, yo, I watch the sport and don't even know half these people's names. Where is the talent going? I mean, those guys, you knew Larry Johnson, like I said, even if you didn't know Larry Johnson, whether it was the gold tooth, whether it was the part down the middle, you just knew players even when you didn't even watch the game. And I'm not just talking about like with the NBA, how everybody knows Magic and Bird. I mean, you knew players. What is up with these players nowadays? I mean, I can't even name who the top 5 picks will be in the draft out of college ball this year. So what do you think? Well, number one, do you agree that college ball isn't what it once was? And what's good with the talent? Greg, what you think?
It's not what it once was because everybody's plan is to do 1 year and leave. Now, it's okay. I mean, I don't want to take anybody right away to get that money. You know, I feel like you got to go at your highest point. But a lot of these dudes is watching the blueprint to bounce, go to school 1 year and leave. When it's not only watering down college, it's trickled over to the NBA. It's watering the NBA down because you got a lot of dudes that really don't belong, is not ready, sitting on the end of a whole lot of benches that we don't even know who they are. They're going to disappear in 3-4 years if they make it that far. And it's ruining the game. You like college ball? Now those dudes ain't coming. You're not going to see them dudes. They're going to either try to leave after 1 year or drop out because they're not going to make it. And then if they do get to the league, they're getting hurt. They getting their money, and they on the end of the bench for 3-4 years, and they'll disappear after that.
Right. I was even looking at like just some drafts like back from 2005 at work the other day, and me and my man was like looking at the lottery picks, and half these dudes we don't even remember no more. You know what I mean? So, but what you think, Esco?
I agree with him. I think the big problem is, I know you got that 1 year, basically. Like you said, you out after 1 year. If you a top 20 player in the NCAA right now, you're out after 1 year. So it's almost hard to build your brand. Like you said, like Larry Johnson. They had that UNLV squad with him and Altman. Like they had that little run where it was like a 2 or 3 year run where you get to see them on ESPN for multiple years before they go and declare for the draft. Nowadays, you might only catch a guy play on ESPN once or twice, and boom, he's in the draft. You might see. Half the time, we don't see these dudes at all. Now you're like the number 19 pick and all that. Like, plus you got coaches that are like, I call coach whores, like Calipari. Like they just go to the next best situation. Like back, like you said in Big East, you had Calhoun. You still got Coach K, but you got Dean Smith. Like now, coaches they'll coach somewhere for a couple years, have a good run. They maybe Sweet 16, bounce to another school. Do well there, bounce to another school. Now it's like every player that really is good, they're just trying to do one and done. They're going to UConn, they're going to Kentucky. I don't know, I just all thought I respect for college ball. I love the tournament. I gotta make that one and done. It's like the NFL. It's the only other sport where it's like the NFL, where you go in, you play one game, and any given day you could be out there. So I love that part, but like you said, the regular season part, it's kind of whatever. You got about 10 teams that are good. All the players that are really good in high school are going to go to those 10 teams. They're going to ball out of control. They're not really trying to win. I don't think they even care if they win the tournament. It's all about stats, and looking well to get up there in the draft. And that's the part of the problem, I think. It's less about winning and more about looking good to get higher up in the draft, to get more money. That's kind of how I feel about those players. Back in college, I felt like they were trying to play well, but they were also trying to win the tournament. Now I feel I think it's they're okay if they don't win. It's a couple teams that have a different culture, like Kentucky, like Duke, that are trying to go far, but the guys that are playing in Ohio and they're playing Louisville, they know they ain't winning from the tournament. So they're whatever, I'm gonna just ball out and get my stats up. So it's just a different love for the game almost. And like you said, it trickles over to the NBA, then they find out it's really not that good. And there's a countless busts. You know what I mean? Every year. There's about 4 or 5 players that end up becoming something in every draft pick. The rest, you're lucky if they're role players. And that's the problem with the NBA now. That number 16 or 17 guy, what's his name? They went to play with San Antonio. Ginobili. He was 16 pick in that draft? Or what was it, Steve Nash was 16 pick in that one draft? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? That days are over. You're top 5 players and that's it. And that's the problem, man. That's my opinion anyway.
Now I feel you a little bit because even watching D'Angelo Russell today, I'm like, yo, are you really thinking about the tournament? Or are you thinking about getting your drafts like where you like? How is your head like? Even like how is your head here where you know you're gonna probably be a top 3 pick? You about to be a millionaire. I know I get hyped when
look,
the album about to come out. So
you've been hearing that all season.
Yeah. So I can only imagine a player being like, yo, I'm about to be a million. Like I couldn't even imagine how hyped my mind would be for 3 months from now I'm a millionaire. My mind may not even be in this Ohio State-Wisconsin game right now. But what you think, Beezo?
Well, I think we should all take a step back from it and questioning guys' desire. I mean, we all want to win. You know what I mean? I mean, to think these guys will go through all that and the scrutiny and not care about winning, I think is a little crazy. I mean, they all want to win. You know what I'm saying? I hear what you're saying. I think that's why I feel Jackson got fined, because I think that him saying that about the dude does put the seed into his head like, oh, I'm good. I can make it to the NBA. And I think what you're talking about, Kill, goes back to like Steve Francis when he was playing at Maryland, and when they were losing in the tournament right before the end of the game. I forget who they lost. It might have been North Carolina or somebody, but he said to them like, yeah, well, I'll be playing next year in the NBA while you'll still be here in college type shit. So, but I think the players nowadays are a little bit different. But aside from that, I think the bigger problem for college and the pros is the AAU league. I think that's where, for the American players, that's where the problems begin. Because, you know, my son was playing ball. He played in a couple of teams or whatever here or there back when he was in high school. And it's crazy the stuff that goes on, man. It's like there's no regulations to anything. It's just whatever. Because it's not, you know, it's not sanctioned by, you know, any real entity. It's just this league that was put together by the cat, what's his name from, I forget the old cat's name. Now, he worked with Nike for years.
You talking about Ron Nasiolo, dude?
Some old Italian cat, some old white dude back in the day. And, you know, I've been to like the ABCD camp that's over here in Jersey and seen that. You know, I went in there one time. I snuck in there and watched a little bit, you know, some of the stuff. And it's a different breed, man. The AAU, I think, that's where it puts into their heads about, you know, making it in the pros. But I think there's really only 2 solutions. And that's either eliminate the one you got to do 1 year and done. I think when they do that, it immediately puts into a kid's head, oh, I just got to do my 1 year bid and then I'm good. I'm going to the league. I think if you just eliminate it altogether, you're always going to get these kids, whether it's 1 and done, even 2 and done. If it's none and done, I think you're going to get kids that really want to go to college and really want to play ball. And I think it's going to separate these dudes, because like what Moody did, instead of going to college, going to play in China, because I think they keep it like this, you're going to see more players doing creative things like that. Like, man, I don't need college. I can start making money right now. I think the only other solution would be for the NBA to develop the D League, where it's like a minor league system a la baseball. Now, they don't need a single A, triple A, you know, they don't need all that craziness like baseball got. That's madness what baseball is doing to me. But I do think that if you have every team has an affiliate, like the Knicks have the Westchester Knicks, where a guy goes down, he gets hurt, we just call up one of our dudes in the D League squad. I think they should do that and hopefully make it so that the guys, it's actually making enough money where you can do something with it. You know what I mean? You can actually make a living, you know, as opposed to making, I think, like $20,000, $40,000 a year. You know, I make more than that, you know what I'm saying, part-time. You know what I mean? So it's like the incentive, you got to really, really want to make it, go to the D League. But I think they're going to have to do something like that, because ultimately the problem with college ball, I think, is that you get everybody is going to the Kentuckys, and then you'll get these guys that kind of went under the radar and they make it to the mid-majors. It makes the mid-majors, I think it makes the tournament better, because now it's more competitive. It's not just top-heavy, although this year I think if Kentucky loses, it'll be a complete utter shock. But just think about that. Like, Kentucky has about, seriously, like 9 or 10 dudes that will be in the NBA in a year or so. You know what I'm saying? That's insane. You take about 6 of them cats and spread them out across college ball at UCLA or, you know, some of these other mid-majors or whatever. I think that would make college ball a little bit better, because it's not all the talent isn't in one central area, one central team. But I think they do also need to make some adjustments to the game. They need to incorporate more of the NBA rules, man. This possession arrow nonsense. Come on, man.
35 seconds, that definitely.
Yeah, come on, man. Yo, bring the shot clock down to 30 seconds.
I think the women's game is 30 seconds. Like how the women.
I'm about to say, bring it down to 30 seconds like the women's game is. It makes a better flow. Get rid of this whole possession thing. Do everything, and I think Van Gundy said it last night during that game, where it's like get rid of everything except for the offensive or defensive 3 seconds in the lane or whatever. Right. And I think that's what they should do. And like, I don't even mind the 5 fouls and you're out, because I think that helps. To me, it should help you get situated with, for big men that's adjusting to the NBA game, where big men tend to be foul prone when they make it to the NBA. So I think that keep it at 5 fouls. I'm all right with that. But some of that stuff, the possession now, I mean, that's just utter nonsense. You're penalizing a team. You make a good play and it's a loose ball instead of a jump ball. I got my 7-footer is attacking that point guard. He ties it up, but the arrow goes to them. That's ridiculous, man. That's utterly ridiculous, man. Get rid of some of that stuff. Get more up to date. Speed the game up, and it'll be a better game.
Yeah, and I think for me too, like I said, just with UConn being a Big East fan, half the joy of college ball was finally getting into conference time, where I knew we was playing the Syracuses and we were playing now we're playing SMU and Temple and Memphis. We're playing teams. I'm like, yo, that was happening. For half the fun for me was the Big East tournament. That was just as exciting, almost as the.
I'm not a big fan of college ball, but I would pay close if I didn't watch all of the Big East tournaments. Like, remember some years ago when Syracuse had that game in the Garden? I forget who was it.
5 overtime.
Yeah, 5 overtimes. I mean, I'm not gonna see Syracuse versus St. John's and Georgetown no more. Like, that's crazy. I mean, call me an old timer, but damn, that's crazy to me, man.
That's the foundation. That's the foundation. All right, we're gonna end the show with this joint. Now, I don't know if cats know, but Spike Lee's been doing these joints called little Spike joints, little 15-minute documentaries on ESPN. The first joint he did was with Ray Allen. He was talking about the whole, when they the NBA had nicknames on the back. So it was the Jesus Shuttlesworth, and just talking about how Ray was saying like everybody calls me Jesus, like that's just my name. And then they were talking about making a He Got Game Part 2. And that Spike's with it, Ray's with it, Rosario Dawson is with it. They just got to bring Denzel in. I think it would be a horrible idea to do a He Got Game Part 2. Half the time, I'm always against Part 2 anyway. I actually like the whole prequel thing that they're doing now versus sequels. But what do y'all think real quick? Beezo, do we need a He Got Game Part 2? How are they going to pull it off? Look, Ray retired in real life now. What, he going to be the retired dude that his son is playing? But what do you think?
You know what? He Got Game Part 2 is like doing Hot Tub Time Machine Part 2, man. You got to come up with some whole crazy convoluted ideas to why we're at where we at. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's not like there's some movies, like them Hobbit movies. You watch it to the end, like there's going to be another one. You know what I mean? The story is developed for it to be more a movie.
Right.
He Got Game was written to be He Got Game. It wasn't because we're going to have to. We got hold up Spike now. We got He Got Game 3. When his grandson's going to the NBA, we got to do. No. It's not necessary. Could he do it? Yeah. Is it necessary? Absolutely not. Come on, Spike.
Nah, I feel you. What you think, Esco?
Absolutely not. It was not made to be 2 and a 3. They just gonna butcher the story. Like, they always make that mistake of making a second one after the first one is actually really good. I pray to God they don't. I can't even imagine like the storyline that it would be like. Is he at the tail end of his career, and then his dad is back again, and then his dad come back once? Like, his dad still? Didn't Denzel go back to jail at the end of the first movie?
Yeah, he went back to jail. He was locked
up. So did he finally get parole, and he's trying to reconnect with his baller son, who's a millionaire, and that? Like, I can't imagine how bad the storyline is. I wouldn't even go to the movie to see it. I catch that shit on DVD when it leaks on the internet, and I'll download that shit. I promise y'all won't go to the movie to see that shit. I know it's going bad.
All right, Greg, what you think?
As much as I love He Got Game, the first one, I can't say it. I think that's probably why they haven't got a response back from Denzel, because he really, like, I ain't trying to get
I ain't look at his phone like,
you can't have it. You can't have it without Denzel, and he know that. So, no, he like, I'm cool. I mean, I think that was just some little between each other, like, just something to say, to see what kind of response they get. I think maybe Spike was serious, but I can't see. I saw it with Ray Allen. I don't think he was that serious with it either. So, I mean, no, I can't see it. Let the first one stand on its own and be what it is.
Yeah, man. It's like, and you can't have Jim Brown no more. He too old, man. I love them scenes with Jim Brown when he's getting intense ass. You can't have that no more. Jim Brown too old, son.
Right. And Denzel's too old. Denzel's 60.
Yeah, man. Come on now. They fucking out, man.
And on top of all that, man, my biggest thing is, man, yo, writers need to write. Like, yo, Beezo, we already know MCs. We ain't gonna go write new stuff. You know what I'm saying? Write some new stuff. Spike, you a basketball dude. There's another basketball story in you. There's another basketball story in you. You don't have to go and rehash this last joint. And yo, I mean, and for me, I don't know if y'all seen Spike's last movie. It was fucking horrible, man. The Sweet Blood.
Oh, I heard about it. I didn't see it.
Wait, what? That was a movie?
Let me say one thing to y'all that will make anybody watching this not watch this movie. Spike, I love you to death. I'm sorry to throw the black eye on you. They got Snoop from The Wire naked.
I'm done.
But you know what? Yo, hey, Tom, call me. Nah.
Nah. I'm not thinking about what you about. Trust me.
Now, listen. Only reason I say this. On her, I follow her on Instagram, and she posted a picture where she had to get some type of makeover for some movie. Maybe it was a Spike joint, and I was blown away. Like, wow, she's actually pretty.
Yo, it was.
I've been curious. Now you got me want to see it. Like,
go watch it. Go watch it.
Like a morbid curiosity,
dude. It's gonna scar you. I'm trying to help you.
It's like driving past the accident scene. You trying to look like, ooh, yeah, he really did.
Nah. You're gonna be scarred. Just all that to say, I think Spike's bag right now is documentaries. He just needs to do more documentaries, do stuff like that. But that's what it is. Yo, good looking out. Premiere episode of The Corner. Beezo. What you got, fam?
Hold up. I have one question. Because I was listening to it today on the way to the store this morning, and they was debating about this MVP race. And the whole Russell Westbrook, where he falls in the MVP race, given OKC's situation with all the injuries and what he's doing right now. Where we have 5 triple doubles or 4 or 5 back to back, and like came close in the last game, whatever. My thing is this: I think it's between. If I had to put him in order, I'll put Westbrook third, Harden second. Curry second, and Harden first. I think you can't underscore what Harden and Westbrook are doing minus their other, their Robin or whatever. In Westbrook's case, his Robin is more like his Superman. He's Batman. You know what I mean? It's like there's no real Batman and Robin with them two. Because what Westbrook, and we were talking about recently, Kill, how it almost seems like this team he's better suited to lead this team by himself than Durant would, because that's when their personalities. Westbrook doesn't give a damn. But I think that the fact that he's putting up 30-something shots a game to do it is why I don't put him above Curry or Harden. I think Harden, to me, is the MVP, more so than Curry. Curry's incredible, and people get caught up in just looking at numbers and the possibility he could be, 50, 40, 90 between the field goal percentage, three-point percentage, and free throw percentage. That's crazy, no doubt. But what Harden's doing, man, he has much less to work with than Curry does in Golden State. I mean, Curry, when you play next to Klay Thompson, the Splash Brothers, even on a bad night, nigga, you could just pass it off and let Thompson go crazy too. But what Harden's doing, there's nobody else for Harden to just be like, all right, I'm going to take a night off. Y'all go ahead and do y'all thing and let's make it happen. Nah, he got to bring it every single night.
Let me say something too on that. Let me say something too. I can tie it all together. Maybe we don't need Hinkie. Maybe we need OKC general manager, because he had Durant, Westbrook, and Harden on the same squad.
I mean, I always say, I would
take Harden too. I love Curry. I would take Harden.
Yeah, and I mean, the MVP to me is Harden, because, like I said, the fact that he's able to do that, and no disrespect to the other people on Houston, I don't even know half them dudes with a ragtag thing, and Harden the team is still competitive. You know what I mean? This team, what he did with LeBron last week, so he's playing above and beyond, like you said, Beezo. As much as I love Curry, I mean, it's exciting basketball to watch, but he's got his whole squad around. You know what I mean? So, like you said, who you got for the MVP? Yes.
I would say I would go Harden. If not Harden, I would probably go to Westbrook second, because I feel like the team Westbrook has around him at OKC, and know they're good. Without Durant, I don't feel like that team is as good as the Curry team. You know what I mean? When he's playing, he got the whole team. Clay is a stud.
Now, here's the thing. I may have agreed with that before these trades, but these trades got much better. This ain't the same team Durant had 2 years ago. This is a much better team.
I mean,
they got. I know they ain't getting
better,
but this OKC team is much better than the one that we had at the beginning of the year with Kendrick.
That trade was good. That was a good trade for them. That worked out. I forgot.
Yo, I keep telling people, yo, them getting Cantor. I know there was all this talk about them getting Lopez at first, and I didn't know how I felt about that because Lopez is one of them dudes. If he's not getting fed the ball, he's almost pointless because he doesn't rebound, he doesn't defend that well. He does on occasion, but Cantor, he's young. You know what I'm saying? He's got a good game. He can pass, he can low post, he rebounds, he defends. And if you watch him in Westbrook, you can see that he is so excited to be playing with them. You know what I'm saying? So he's going to do whatever is needed of him. You know what I'm saying? Then they got the kid Adams backing him up, who I think should have been their starting center from the beginning, even last year, because Perkins was done 2 years ago, man.
Trash.
Word up.
Good looking for the first show of the corner, man. You know, like I said, next time y'all know we may be back talking about something totally different. We'll make beatsforfood.com. Check us out. Beezo, Gregg, Esco. Good looking out, y'all.
No doubt, man.
All right.
All right, peace, man.